Good morning, Metaverse. I'm Thor with the Red Hand, and this episode is going to be about escape velocity, which is the movement test for Sage, the minigame of Star Atlas. Now, I wanted to cover first the most important pieces of how you log in and start an account and participate in escape velocity. And then I want to talk a little bit more details and some thoughts that I have about strategies and that type of thing. So check out the first part if you're just looking to get on and need some help with that, and stay around for the later part for a little bit deeper thought into it. So let's get going. The first thing you're going to need to know is when Escape Velocity launches, you'll go to sage.staratlas.com. That's the website that you will then connect your wallet to. I use Phantom as the Solana app to manage my wallets, and so I'll use that to connect to the website. Now, it has been talked about. I personally am going to use a hot wallet, a temporary wallet that I'll set up specifically for Escape Velocity. I will transfer in the Atlas from my hardware wallet. I have a Ledger. I highly recommend hardware wallets on a regular basis for safety, but for the function of this game, all the transactions that you're going to have to approve, it may make more sense to set up a hot wallet and then transfer the Atlas and a small amount of Sol for the Solana transactions. 0.1, 0.2 Sol would probably be more than enough. And so that's what I will be doing. I'll be setting up my temporary hot wallet. From there, then I will lock 1,000 Atlas per ship that I want to have in the escape velocity movement test. Unlimited number of ships, but you do need to lock 1,000 Atlas. That doesn't mean you have to pay it. When you unlock your ships, then you get the Atlas back. This is just to prevent massive botting from happening. It's going to tie up the money. 1,000 Atlas right now is roughly $3. So it'll allow people to put in several ships, and it will allow pretty much everybody to at least participate. So I think it's a good way to go about it. Once we have the Atlas locked, everybody is going to be issued the same ship, a Fimbial Lobi, to traverse through the movement test. And it is going to be based off of a 100 by 100 grid that we will be able to move around. So that's 10,000 sectors that we'll engage with. And you'll get your Fimbial Lobi or Lobis, and you will pick the spot that you start, and then you will begin moving from one sector to the other. You will scan that sector for loot boxes, which we'll talk about in a second. Go and claim those loot boxes, and then move to a different sector. And then scan again. Now, the whole purpose for that is each time you move from one sector to another, that's going to change the state of the Solana blockchain. And the dev team is going to be able to make sure that the functioning parts of the game are working properly. They're going to be able to claim a lot of good data, statistical data for the econ team. This is testing a test to make sure that they're able to receive information properly. So that's all the benefit that the team gets from us engaging. And so as a result, they are putting out loot boxes with actual loot that is represented here in the loot table. Several people have talked about it. I'm not going to go into it. You can read through it, and the percent chance that each loot box as they spawn will be one of these: copper, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond. But the important parts are the loot boxes. There is going to be a consistent number of those loot boxes amongst the 10,000 sectors at any given time in the game. And so let's just, for example, say there is going to be 1,000 loot boxes scattered amongst all the sectors. Well, when somebody claims a loot box, technically there would only be 999. Well, then the game automatically and randomly distributes another loot box somewhere else in the grid. And so there will always be that 1,000 loot boxes for that example. They did not say how many loot boxes are going to be available at any given time. That was not information given, but it will maintain that number. And so the more that we claim loot boxes, the more will pop up elsewhere. And that goes into sort of a strategy that I'm going to have, I'll talk about later. Now, the playtest is going to actually last for a considerable amount of time. They expect it to be about a month that the playtest will go on. So it is not like a one-day event. If you're not able to make it there for the exact start, then it's not a big deal. I will be waiting anxiously at my computer screen for it to start because I am excited about it. But if you aren't able to make it for the very beginning of it, this will last for approximately a month. It can go longer or shorter depending on what the development team decides they need or are able to do. And so that's exciting. This is going to be sort of an endurance race. I'm going to schedule something that I can regularly do and last the entire month and have it be part of my regular routine. I would highly recommend that you do that too. Most likely I won't play Escape Velocity more than 20 hours a day. I think that's reasonable because I can sleep 1 hour, and then the other hour, 3 hours would be for eating and playing with the kids, 5-10 minutes a day, something like that. So whatever schedule works for you. And so let's get into some more of the details and then into some of the strategies that I'm thinking of. In the Atlas brew that was on 426, and I recommend that everybody watch that because there's some good information there. Michael Wagner did say that they had changed the way that the scanning was going to work in that you would not be limited to one scan per minute, and how that affects your ships universally. He had stated that it's going to be more regular than that, more often that you're able to scan, and so a normal gamer, not a bot, but a normal person gamer should be able to do as many actions as they can in the amount of time that it takes to cool down and then scan or move from one sector to the next. So the warp drive, there's going to be some movement cooldowns and such that are going to play into the game, and I'm interested to see how that actually plays out. I don't have a lot of great information about moving from one sector to the next, but that's the general idea. So you would be able to scan more than once a minute, which I think that's going to keep the game pace pretty high for the people that are playing. With that in mind, how many people are going to be playing at any given time? I don't know. I'll be interested with that. That kind of leads me to my first strategy. This is an international game, but there are more people in different areas. The United States and in Europe are two pretty heavily popular or dense areas, and then also the Turkish community. Sorry, the Turkish community is actually really big, and so those time blocks where most of those people are awake and available, during the work week, it may be difficult for people to do it while they're doing their job. However, you need to think about priorities, people. So obviously, anytime in between bathroom breaks, jump on and play a little bit of Star Atlas. But choosing the time of day that you're going to be out there and traveling through the sectors, I think is going to be a big one. So I have the ability to choose some odd hours, and that's probably when I'm going to play the most. That also works the best with my regular schedule. So think about that. And then there's also the strategy of where are you going to go? You start in let's say a random spot on this grid, decided how are you going to move around? Are you going to work with somebody in your guild? If you don't have a guild, feel free to reach out to myself on the Discord, which will be linked down in the description below for the Red Hand. That's the guild that I'm involved with. We've had very little talk about strategizing for this play test, and I don't think that's going to hurt too much. My overall strategy is to visit every one of the 10,000 sectors, and I'm just going to go a straight line to the edge, and I'm going to go back and forth like a typewriter, and hit each and every one of them. The reason I'm going to do that is because the distribution of the loot boxes are going to be random. So there's no way to pick one specific area that more loot boxes are going to pop up. That is going to be random. There are going to be areas that are denser than others, but there's no way to really know that. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to hit every single one, one after the other, and keep going. I'm not really doing this to gain a lot of loot, although taking a look at the different prizes, something like if I ran across a D9, that would be my dream. That would be phenomenal. I would rather have a D9 than the tank ship, but that's just me personally. But there's a bunch of these core episodes, 1,000 Atlas. That right there makes it worth me going and participating, because my main focus is to get as much data to the development team as possible so they can make a more robust game, and make this game more fun, and get it out to us sooner in its full capacity. So the more I can be helpful in that, the more I'm willing to do, and the little benefits that we have as a result, the incentives I think are just great icing on that cake. So that's my game plan. I'm going to move as much as I can from sector to sector and hit as much of the area as possible. So if I'm doing one sector a minute, that'll be about 10,000 minutes. I think that's possible to get done in the next month. And so that's going to be my goal. It'll be interesting to see what other people do. I would love to see if people get a loot box in the gold, platinum, and definitely diamond. Like, that should be an announcement on Discord and Twitter, and blast that out. I think that would be really cool to see the different people that are winning big on this event, and because I get excited about the other people in the community. I obviously will brag as much as possible when I get a D9 or a maiden heart would be really cool too. So I would love to see that interaction from the community. And I think that's going to be the case. So yeah, definitely looking forward to the playtest. It was mentioned in the town hall, I believe, for the econ team. One of the things they're going to be doing is testing out the adjustment of levelers. So the way that the game, progresses over time, perhaps the amount of loot boxes that are persistent at any given time, that might be a lever that they're able to play with in order to see if it is properly working. So that's something to kind of look out for and see what they're doing. And how that affects the actual gameplay. I'm actually really interested, after the test is done, I'd love to see the results from the different tests and the different levers that they were able to utilize, and how well that went. Just a side note to the development team. I would find that very fascinating, if anybody wants to talk about that after the playtest has been finished. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was, looking forward, what the next step after they do the movement test. Then most of the rest of the team for Sage is working on the mining and the crafting. And that will be a really great test. I imagine will be coming up afterwards. I hope that happens sooner than later, but that will be very interesting if we're able to then, or would he be able to use our fleets, or are they going to give us a standard fleet that we can operate with? because it's the for crafting it determines, or it's dependent on how many crew that you have. It would determine how fast you can craft something, and then going out and mining and processing, that'll be another little aspect that we need to play with. I wonder if they are going to add in fuel consumption and that type of thing to start having a burning mechanism in order to be involved in the play test. I think I would be very much up for that. I think that would be really good for the ecosystem and the economy aspect of Star Atlas. So that's just a thought and a suggestion out to the ether there as well. But let's see how it goes. I look forward to seeing everybody out there. And if you have any other questions on how to get started, I know there's probably going to be a decent amount of confusion right when it gets started. And if there's any bugs that we need to work out, so be active in Discord. You're welcome to drop me a line. And we can work through any problems if and when they arise, and just have as much fun as we can. And this is really cool. Like, things are happening now, and I just have the feeling that things are going to snowball and become more and more exciting going forward. So don't worry about liking or subscribing, but if you know someone that would find this useful, go ahead and share it with them. And if you can do that, then today was a good day. Good morning, Meta.